Rita, I want to talk about, so Catalogue raisonné, you began very early on to be interested by Sanyu. So you are doing the Catalogue raisonné.
Yes.
Could you explain how it works?
Okay. I discovered Sanyu when I was working at Sotheby's. And when Sotheby's decided to hold the auctions in Taipei, we needed a new genre because in Hong Kong we were selling ink drawings, ink paintings. So because of the Japanese background of Taiwan, I suggested we try to sell Chinese oil paintings. So Sotheby's agreed, and we had our first auction in 1992. But before then, I had to make preparation for the auction, so all the Chinese artists who painted in the Western style usually came to Europe to study. In China, they went to the Soviet Union, but in Taiwan, before the communist era, they came to France or England, mostly France. So then
But Sanyu was Chinese and he came to Paris.
Yeah, but that was before 1949. The communists took over in 1949. After then, it was
Let's focus on Sanyu.
Yeah. So focus on Sanyu. In the 20s, many of the students came here because we had the Sino-Franco agreement. There was the school in Lyon where many people like Zhou Enlai, the Communist Party people, came because this was a training ground for actually the Chinese Communist Party. But aside from that, many students came, many art students, architecture students. Anyway, there was a whole wave of students coming to France since the 1919 and 1920s. Sanyu came in 1920, and the many artists, Xu Beihong, Pan Yuling. Sanyu didn't go to the L'École des Beaux-Arts. He didn't like the formal training. He went to La Grande Chaumière.
Yes.
And so there he could use his Chinese ink and brush and paint the nudes that we see today is all with Chinese ink and brush. And then in the 20s he started painting in oils. So when I discovered him, I found some pieces in Paris and put it in auction in Taiwan. Nobody knew who Sanyu was and nobody wanted to buy him. So to make a long story short, from 1992 to around 1997, it was a bit of a struggle to have people understand Sanyu. But yeah, slowly they did, and the prices started to get good. As the prices started to get good, people started to look for us to give us paintings. And that's in 1995, I met Robert Frank, the photographer, and he was a good friend of Sanyu's. And so he had a collection of Sanyu, and he wanted to sell it, to do two things: to donate money to the museum in Taiwan to renovate the Sanyu, and the bulk of the money he donated to Yale University to establish a Sanyu scholarship fund for students of art from China who need help financially. So after I sold the Robert Frank collection, I sort of decided it was time to leave the auction house. I'd been there 20 years. And so I thought this is the time to stay home and try to organize all the information on Sanyu, because really for 10, 15 years, I'd collected a lot of data material. Every time I came to Paris, I would meet somebody who was a friend of Sanyu or who had pictures to share and everything. So I spent basically 2-3 years, and I came out with volume 1. Jean-Claude Ridel was very important. He had most of the photographs because he bought almost every Sanyu that came up in Paris at Tuo, at whatever. He would buy them. They were very cheap.
And he happened to know Sanyu?
He never met him, but he liked him very much.
Okay.
So he collected Sanyu.
And so you decided to write the Catalogue raisonné?
Yeah. And the problem with Sanyu is that he didn't go back to China. He died in Paris, a very poor man. So if you don't go back to China and you're not known in Paris, there's not going to be any information on you. You can't find anything. So I remember going to his friends, going to places he had gone to, and just tried to learn as much as I could. It was okay, but then slowly as his prices went up, more people brought these out to put at auction. Every time something went out on auction, I had already left the auction house, but I would tell my friends at Sotheby's and Christie's, show me the paintings, tell me where they come from. I need to know more about the history of the paintings. So after the first one was published in 2001, after 10 years in 2011, I had found, thanks to the auction houses, another 40-some paintings. So I decided now it's time to do this, the addendum, the volume 2. And then 2021 was last year, but because of COVID, I couldn't travel. But so I'm hoping that in 2 years, I'll be able to do the 3rd volume, and it will be a complete one, and my last one. I'm too old to do anymore.
And you did also the work on paper, Catalogue raisonné.
Yes, I did the works on paper, the prints, the drawings, and the watercolors. But the difference now in doing research is that everything